What is going on? It is Nate the Game Guy coming back with another video at hand, and today I want to talk to you guys and show off some of my smallest game libraries and collections right here in the game room. So of course, as you guys can imagine, I've been collecting video games for a very long time. However, there are some consoles and handhelds that I don't really have very many games for. Now, of course, some of the reasons for some of these smaller libraries that I have are basically either because of my lack of interest for them over time, prices for them being pretty high, or just me focusing on collecting on other consoles. Now, of course, with these consoles, I must have at least one game for them because if there are no games, I'm not really going to post them in this video. And of course, I'm not going to rank these libraries in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to show like the smallest to the biggest or like the coolest to like my least favorite. I'm just going to throw in my smallest game libraries and show you exactly what I've got. So without further ado, let's dive right into this video subject and take a look at some of my smallest game libraries and collections that I've got right here in the game room, right after the intro. Alright, so I'm going to start this video off by showing off my Sega CD collection right here. I've got Sonic CD, Midnight Raiders, Tomcat Alley, Ground Zero Texas, and San Diego Zoo presents The Animals. Now, of course, I'm sure at no surprise to anybody watching this video, my favorite game on the Sega CD is Sonic CD. And normally, you don't really get to see my Sega CD collection very much because mostly it's hidden right behind all these Saturn games right here. Normally, it's like in this nook and cranny right here where you see some empty space. So I'm sure for a lot of you guys, this is the first time that you are seeing some of my Sega CD games. Now, I do plan on picking up some more Sega CD games for my collection. However, there's not very many games on the Sega CD that I'm interested in, just because I'm not really into the full motion video games that are on the console. They just don't really interest me and not really like my cup of tea. But I will say, I do think the Sega CD is a pretty cool thing for what it is. Of course, I really do enjoy Sonic CD, and I do agree with the Sonic community as a whole that it is one of the best Sonic games on the console itself. But yeah, when it comes to the Sega CD, that's easily one of my smallest game libraries here in the game room, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to show my games off with you guys. Now, of course, sticking to the theme of Sega comes my next smallest game collection right here, which is the 32X. And yes, I only have 2 games for the 32X. Another real big shocker for you guys is that my favorite game that I've got on it so far is Star Wars Arcade. I think this is just an incredible game on the 32X. And a couple other 32X games that I enjoy as well are Virtua Fighter and Virtua Racing. Sadly, I do not own those games yet here in the collection. Another game that I do want to try one day for the 32X is Knuckles Chaotix. And I do think the 32X is cool, despite it not really being a successful thing for Sega back in the day, just like the Sega CD. And what is nice about the 32X is that it has a pretty small library to begin with, just only 36 games in North America, and I would strongly consider going for a full 32X set simply just because of how small the library is. I mean, you guys know already, I enjoy collecting and completing sets right here in the game room, and a small set, you know, it can be a double-edged sword, is because sure, there's not very many games where you have to hunt down for it, but they're also more rare and more expensive. But basically, to keep things short and sweet, I would absolutely go for a complete 32X set here in the game room one day. But yeah, that's just another small collection knocked out right here in this video, which is the 32X. And now going over to the handheld side of things, my next smallest game library that I've got right here in the game room is the Game Boy Color. Only 4 games for it, and there's really only one out of this whole stack of games, right, that I even have played, let alone would even want to play again, and that is Powerpuff Girls. The rest, Stuart Little, Sabrina, Mary Kate, Ashley, Crush Course. Yeah, obviously those are games that are not really up my alley, but what is nice about Powerpuff Girls is it's pretty nostalgic for me, especially as someone who grew up with Cartoon Network back in the day with Dexter's Lab and Ed, Edd n Eddy, Cow and Chicken, Powerpuff Girls, all that stuff, right? I did play it like several years ago, and I did enjoy it a little bit. It wasn't like a mind-blowing game or whatever, but you know, I thought it was pretty decent. I had to give it a go because I remember those Best Buy commercials of how you could get those Powerpuff Girl games for the Game Boy Color way back then. And with the Game Boy Color, there are so many games that I want to pick up soon for it. I want to get Pokemon Gold and Silver. I want to get Super Mario Deluxe, and there's just so many games on the Game Boy Color that I need to pick up. I've really been sleeping on the Game Boy Color, and one of my goals, if you guys do remember my video where I was talking about some of my goals for 2025 for collecting, if you haven't seen it, go check the video out right here, is that I plan to get more games for some of my handhelds. Thankfully, I've been doing just that with my Game Boy Advance collection, but as you guys can tell, I do need to step things up with the Game Boy Color. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are going to be very surprised that I'm even going to show this library of games right here, although a lot of you who have been following the channel know for a while that I've already got a complete set for this console, and that is the Hyperscan. That's right, I happen to own all 5 games for the Hyperscan, and don't worry, I've got X-Men too. And I'm sure some of you are probably wondering, why do I have X-Men in this case right here? That is because when you would get a brand new Hyperscan, which I bought a new one on eBay about 10 years ago now at this point, it would come with X-Men, and it would just only be in this white paper sleeve right here, and I wanted the game to have more protection. Of course, the manual is right there, and don't worry, I also have the deck of cards that comes with it as well. And do I recommend this console playing at all? No, I don't. I don't think it's a fun console to play at all. Normally, I say there's usually at least one game on every library of a console that's worth playing. Not really the case with the Hyperscan. There's not really anything that I would consider remote even playing at all. So when it comes to the Hyperscan, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was my very first complete set that I added right here into the game room. It was pretty awesome because it was just 5 games and easy, and I can tell people, yeah, I have that weird console from like 2006 to 07, and even though some people will make the argument that it's not really a console but just a toy, but in my opinion, the fact that it has an ESRB rating on the games and the fact that Angry Video Game Nerd has an entire special dedicated to the Hyperscan, those were some good enough reasons for me to pick up a Hyperscan. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of you did not see that one coming in this video. Now, as I swap right back to handhelds, when it comes to some of my smaller game collections right here, I want to talk to you guys about the original Game Boy. I've got Mary Kate and Ashley, Travel Guide, Lock and Chase, Pokemon Blue, and Pokemon Yellow. And again, another big shocker for everyone watching this video. My 2 favorite games that I've got for the OG Game Boy are, of course, the Pokemon games. The rest of the games I found at a local resale shop for very, very, very cheap, where I just picked them up just because they're not in the collection, so they're going into the collection. This is another handheld that I've got to get more games for, especially games such as Super Mario Land and get Pokemon Red and just some other Game Boy games that I just gotta get. I've been sleeping pretty heavy on the handheld side of things. I've already mentioned before that I'm planning on fixing that, and I will say that, at least I've got 2 good games on the original Game Boy right now, which are Pokemon Yellow and Blue. Just gotta get Red and add a few others, and, I think I'll be alright. But, yeah, that's another handheld where I don't have very many games for, so, yeah. Now, of course, I've got one more handheld that I want to show to you guys right here, which is my Game Gear collection. So right now, with my Game Gear collection, I've got Sonic 2, I've got Joe Montana Football, which I paid 33 cents for, and Sonic Chaos, going along, Chase HQ, another 33-cent game, and here I've got 2 sealed copies of Sonic 2 and 2 sealed copies of The Lion King. So you're probably wondering, why do I have so many copies of Sonic 2? And that is because I can't decide if I want to be a complete in-box collector or a loose collector when it comes to the Game Gear, and I want to have one new sealed copy of the game because of collecting purposes. Same thing with Lion King, just because I found both of those games brand new for so cheap. That's why I decided to do so. But I got a curveball I want to throw in for you guys. And right here, I've got some import titles for the Game Gear. I've got Puyo Puyo 2 and Madao Monogatari Part 3. These are Japanese imports, basically themed off of the Puyo Puyo Madao Monogatari series. And if I remember correctly, I think Game Gear is region free, which means I can play these on a US Game Gear. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a Game Gear in the collection yet, but I do want to change that one day. Of course, I want to build on the collection as well for the Game Gear, because there are some games on the console or the handheld that aren't just Sonic that I do want to try out. But in case if you guys were wondering if I did have a Game Gear collection, I do. It's just pretty small, as you guys can tell. Now we're going back to Sega again with another console to talk about, and that is the Sega Master System. I only have 4 games for the Master System. I've got Wonder Boy in Monsterland, Hang On and Safari Hunt, Shooting Gallery, and Super Tennis. And I'm sure you will all see that each and every single game that I bought from the Master System is from the video game company. Now, I don't know if I would personally buy from them again. I really would think about it, me personally. But if you guys do want to see what exactly I picked up from them before in the past, please be sure to go check out this video right here that I'll link for you guys to check out. This is a console I have never played before. I don't have a Master System, funny enough. The only 2 consoles and handhelds that I've showed so far in this video where I've got games for, but I don't have consoles for and handhelds for, are the Master System and the Game Gear. But I do plan on getting a Master System one day. Obviously, it seems like one of those consoles where I would probably pick up to play from like 5, 10, 15 minutes and then get bored easily, just because I'm not from that generation. Usually, like, it's Super Nintendo and above is what's going to keep me occupied in front of a TV for longer. But, the Master System does look like a pretty fun console for what it is, and I'm kind of thinking about going for a complete set for it, because with just a little over 100 games, seems pretty manageable to me. And it looks like there's some Sega games that, in my opinion, have also flown under the radar when looking back at some of the games on the Master System. But yeah, that's a console that I don't have a console for, but I've got 4 games to start me off with. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out my video. Please be sure to check out these videos here, and here. After all, I post a lot of content when it comes to game collecting tips, and other video game related subjects. So be sure to keep an eye out every Monday and Friday where I upload consistently, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.